Hello everybody and welcome. This is my 2019 Alfa Romeo Giulia base model, and today I'm going to be showing you how to change the front and the rear brake pads and rotors. This will help save you a lot of money versus taking it to a dealership. So let's get started. For the brake pads and rotors I'll be installing, I'll be using the R1 Concepts E-Line series front and rear rotors and EBC yellow stuff brake pads. The tools that you'll need to complete this process will consist of a breaker bar with a 17mm socket for removing the wheel, a set of Torx sockets, a set of E-series sockets, a 1/4 inch socket wrench, a 1/2 inch socket wrench. You'll need a punch pin tool, a rubber mallet, a 3/8 torque wrench, and a 1/2 inch torque wrench. You'll need some brake cleaner, some WD-40, a wire brush with a drill, or just a hand wire brush if you don't have this. And optional is a driver with a 17mm socket for removing the wheels quicker. The safety equipment I'll be using is a pair of mechanic work gloves, safety glasses, and a mask for when I'm brushing the brake dust off the car, not to breathe it in. This procedure, you will have the brakes will be disabled, so there won't be any brakes, parking brake or emergency brake to hold the car while you lift it and work on the brakes, so use extreme caution. So one thing to note before you start this job, you will be putting the car in brake maintenance mode, which will disable your parking brake, so you won't have any braking except for the car being put in park. So the first thing you want to do is install the chocks. One chock in the front, one chock in the rear wheel. Make sure that you have this on a level surface, and this will just prevent any rolling after you start this procedure. Once you have your wheels chocked, without pressing the brake, hit the start button, and we're going to put the car in brake service mode. Make sure you have this disabled. Oh, you have to press the brake. Okay, now let off. Go down to settings, driver assistance, and then let's go down to brake service. It's going to ask you, do you want to allow the brake service system? We'll hit yes. You can hear the indicators. Parking brake, service electronic brake. It says park brake retracted. To reset, press the brake pedal. Okay, after we disable the parking brake, we'll remove the negative battery terminal, pull that loose, and then back here is the IBS connector switch, and we will release that. It feels like a little pin. Okay, we'll pull that off to the side, and now nothing's connected to the battery terminal. This should prevent any errors, codes when you start the car back up. Also, very important, do not close this trunk after removing the negative battery terminal, or you're going to have quite a time opening it back up. I recommend putting something that will cover this just to resist the temptation to close it. You can actually take the battery cover and just leave it there, prevent any accidental closing. Lug nuts on the front wheel. On your wheel. just kind of floor jack for support. Want to disconnect the brake sensor. Set that off. I want to punch out 2 pins holding the brake calipers in. First, loosen the lower bolt. Actually looks in pretty good shape. Doesn't look too corroded. Okay, well I have some PB blaster soaking in that top bolt. I'm going to go ahead and loosen the hex screw right here on the rotor, loosen it up. This shouldn't be on here very tight, so yeah, I figured that was barely on there. Okay, so next will be getting this top bolt loose. This is fighting me pretty good. Positioning it centered. There we go. Okay. Sometimes when you don't have the right tool, you just got to make it. Attach the vice grip to the back of my socket wrench to make it a torque wrench. One thing to remember about this brake caliper is that the brake line that goes to it is a hard line, so you don't want to move this caliper around too much and risk of bending that line. I'm going to loosen this bolt up just enough to move it around a little bit, but I'm not going to take it all the way off. I will to check the condition of the bolt, make sure it's not too corroded. But since it's seized up, I might have to put this one in some WD-40 just to prevent that from happening next time. But just remember not to move this around too much, just so you don't bend that hard line. Oh, yeah, it's got some nasty rust in it. No wonder this one was bad. Yeah, this one I'm going to clean up a little bit. So what I might do is take my other one. See if I can find it. And take my other bolt. Pull this off. Remember to put this back on the bottom when you replace it. But this bolt needs a little TLC. Let's see how rusted that is. This one's in good shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in here just so it doesn't fall off. Now, before we go any further with this, one thing we need to do is loosen up the brake reservoir. Or do this. This will release some of the pressure and allow you to push those pistons back in. So what I like to do, I'll loosen it, lift it, let's get a little air in, but then just lay the cap back on it so there's air going in, but you won't have to worry about any dirt falling in there. That loosened. Yeah, that's not coming off. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. We can take our pins back out, which these will also have some WD-40 and a little bit of light polishing. Let's see if I can find that other one. That one's fun. See if that did the trick. This one probably has a little more tension on it than the other one. Watch out for that sensor. There we go. Okay. So yeah, that one also could use a little bit of cleaning. Just gently. Okay. Well, first we're gonna need to tighten this back in a little more. I thought that was in there good. Okay, I kind of loosened this up a little bit, but I kept the bolt on there so it doesn't put too much strain on that hard line. So now I'm going to remove the retaining bolt see if I can. I'll probably have to knock this off. I can see a lot of rust stuff. Let's see if rubber mounts have enough mount for this. There we go. Okay. So let's see if I got enough play now. No, that's going to be too far. Okay. So let's set that back on here. Okay. Remove this bolt. Okay, we're going to hold the caliper. Kind of get your hand in there. You can hold it a little bit better. Pull the brake pad out. This side. Let's see if that gives us enough play. And watch out, these things are heavy. There we go. Okay. Okay. So let's set that there. I'm going to pull up this brake pad too. Oh wait. Alright, let's get that tightened back on. There we go. Okay, there we go. That's this right here. Oh, there we go. All right. Maybe a little more force on needed too, but let's do that. You pull that around out of this little groove here. Okay. And then pull this brake pad out. There's a retainer clip. Yeah, try to get that around. Okay, so this pad is actually still pretty chunky. These things just, they squealed. They were so horrible. I'll take the old pad, slide in here, and I'm gonna try to get these pistons. Get these two pistons flush with the rubber part, and this is a 4-pot, so there's going to be two. There's going to be two on this side and two on that side, and these probably don't really take a lot of pressure. If you have a little bit of resistance, one tool I forgot to include would be using a C-clamp and one of your previous brake pads. I also recommend with the C-clamp to maybe put something to protect your paint on the rotor. But let's see if these will go flush by hand first. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna remove this retainer clip too. Don't know if it includes a new one. Oh, actually I'm gonna hold on to it. Oh yeah, that actually goes pretty well by hand. Okay, so the top one, I guess 2 fingers. Got that one, so let's see if I can get my thumb in here. Then I'll get the thumb in there. Just push it back in. There we go, it's not too bad. Okay, then get the thumb down here. That's not a lot of light right there. Let's see if I can get some more lighting. Okay, let's get so we can do it one thumb. That. Push this one back in. There we go. Okay, so that was pretty flush. Let me go back up a little bit. Okay, so when you push one in, it kind of pushes the other one out, so keep that in mind. They're getting there. You just got to kind of work them. Okay. Get this. See what it says. Yeah, that looks pretty good overall. That should be fine. Okay, so let's move on to prepping the rotor. Actually, we'll install the brake pads first. Okay, now with your dust mask on, I'm going to take a wire brush and clean out all the brake dust that's collecting here. After we kind of knock some of this down, use a damp cloth to kind of do the rest.
Just make sure we got everything in.
Next, we're going to spray and polish these. Okay, so now I'm going to spray these with some WD-40 and use some 3000 grit sanding paper to try to smooth these back out. Now these look in much better shape. Okay, so now I'm going to install the brake pads. Before I do, I'm going to put some anti-seize compound to help with the squealing. That was a big motivator for me changing out these brake pads. So we're just going to put a little bit on the where the piston would go. Add a little bit more there. There we go. Add a little too much there. Okay. Then we'll add some to this one. Okay. Just remember that the sensor is the inner brake pad and they're directional, so the wire that's up top will be the one that fits in there. Now just fish this cable through and have your pins ready also. Okay, and then we'll get this around there. We gotta get around that. Slide this bad boy in. Get that fit in there. Once we get that nice and snug, we put this pin through. Not all the way though. There we go. Just enough to hold it in place. And then we put the second pin through to find where that is. Down here. That'll hold the inner brake pad. Now we do the outer pad. So make sure the curvature matches up with the rotor, or sorry, the caliper. And we'll slide that in here. And you want to make sure that that loop is up. Make sure you got it flush against the push the pin through, hold it in, and then we gotta line it up. Just give it a little pressure. Okay, and that's in there. Now we'll do the same thing. Bottom pin. Right here. And we gotta push or squeeze it just a little bit to get it. There we go. After we secure that, we'll hammer those back in. The rotor, we're just going to use a little bit of brake cleaner just to get the oil off that comes with it, preventing rusting. Spray a little bit of that on there. All right, let's go install this bad boy. Up first. Play, and then we need to get the rotor on. There we go. All right. Okay, so now we gotta get lined up. I'm going to put this bolt back in just to hold the caliper back on. Keep that tension off. Okay. And we'll put that right back in here. Oops. That should line everything up. Okay, so let's get our socket. Alright, so let me. Okay, then we'll tighten this down. Do too much. Need it to be cleaned up, so got it a little bit better, but this should be fine. Alright, so I got a little bit there. Okay. And put the new bolt in. The top bolt. Some time to get it back in. Let me get bolt. Remember, need this counterweight on there. Oops. Get a little low here. To have the counterweight facing towards the car. So in the service manual, the torque settings for these two bolts is 37 foot-pounds plus 20-degree turn. So that plus 20 degrees. Okay. Okay. Plus 20 degrees. All right. A little bit. That's working. Not the right tool, but it fits in this space. Feels pretty secure in there. I'm going to definitely tap this to make sure. See when it's going anywhere. Okay, so that's the new brake rotor. Okay, after doing the front brakes, I'm going to show you how to change the brake pads on the rear of the car. So 2019 Alfa Romeo Giulia. First thing we're going to do is disconnect the cables. There's 2 of them we need to connect, and a flathead screwdriver will be able to disconnect this one. You just kind of gently put it in there and pry it very gently. It's like, I want that tab to break, so you want to just kind of, there we go. So there's that. That controls your electronic brake. And then here's your brake pad wear indicator right here. And it's on the bottom, it's a little clip. You just lift up on that right there, and it'll come loose. And you just set it aside. Okay, so next, let's see if I can get in here. And the back, you have the caps that cover the so pull it off. Oops. Get that shot there. Okay. There we go. And that's the other one. Off the bracket. There we go. Okay. So now we got all that free. Let's go ahead and remove the 2 brake caliper bolts. Hex Allen key socket. And these are only torqued to about 20 foot-pounds, so they're not too bad to break loose. Make sure you got in there good. There you go. Okay. But it also doubles for holding the caliper too, which is nice. Bolts out. Sometimes they're loose enough to do it by hand. Yeah, there we go. Get this one most of the way out. Then I'll get the bottom one out. Okay. And my punch pen that you knock the pins out for the front brake calipers, and I'll push the bolt out. There you go. That's the hex bolt. Looks in pretty good shape. I want to go ahead and remove this pin. It is a loaded spring, so I highly recommend using some safety glasses. I'm going to use curved pliers. Just gives you a little bit of leverage. Alright, now keep that because you're going to need to put that on later. There we go. Set that aside. Now, get a little kind of back and forth pressure. Pull this loose. Oops. Don't forget to feed that through. This orbital creel comes in handy. This one has a flex line, so it's not as risky as the front brakes. And let's see. Yeah, these really don't look too bad. They got a lot of meat left on them. There's a bolt there, and then there's a bolt underneath it. Alright. Let's get back here. And then we'll just keep that straight. And there that is. And it looks in pretty good shape. Okay, that one looks good. And we'll just set the bracket aside. It has this number 7 Allen key. There we go. Pretty easy. Now, I've already done the other one, and these rust up pretty good, and you can't. And my car's still in part, so. Okay, so we're just gonna squirt a little bit of this in here. Let that kind of soak in. Holes here. Okay. Oh, look at that. Love it when that goes smoothly. Okay. That should go. Lighten off a little bit. Okay. Clean both sides with some parts cleaner. Already did the other side. Now let's go install in the car. There we go. And just a little snug. Now we need to retract the piston on this caliper. So what I'm going to do is remove the motor. It just kind of slides off. And it's not on there very tight, so you just get them broken loose. And then we'll just twist it off from here. Okay. Oh, that's gonna be fun. Bolt. The reservoir is open. I put my old brake pad right here. A very old, large C-clamp. And then I'm going to find a little space up here. Be very careful where you hit this. You don't want to mess up those splines, this motor. And then I kind of just lower it here. Okay, and then a bit of pressure. Just twist it until the piston is flush with this big rubber piece. Okay, so almost there. that's flush. And you'll feel a slight bit of pressure once you get to that point. Okay, so now we got that. So the receipt clamp aside. So this side. We got the electric parking brake back. You just kind of line everything up. See, there's some splines in there, so you'll have to get those lined up. And there we go. Okay, now we add. Okay. Let's just tighten these back down. Just a little, tiniest bit of tension on it. Okay. Alright, so now we got that. First thing we're going to do is just clean this a little bit first before we reinstall it. Let's break dust off. Use my wire brush. Get this off. It's a good time to wear a face mask for some of this dust. Okay, and then these are the areas you really want to try to get that dust out. Alright, that looks better. So now we'll reinstall this bracket. Okay. So get around that rotor. Sit right there. Alright, so now we got a line this up. Alright, so got that one on there. Now let's get this one tightened down. Okay. Okay, let's tighten this bad boy down. Alright, well, be careful not to strip the edges. These things will fit. Okay. It still fits, so careful for next time. This is a very weird angle to torque something this heavy. Okay. There we go. All right. Okay. So now, put the new brake pads on. So your inner brake pad will have the sensor cable on it. But also on these rear brake pads, make sure yours comes with this spring. If it doesn't, you can use the one off the existing brake pad, but you will want to have it for this. Okay, then I'm going to add some anti-seize to the back of this. Okay, might be a little much. Alright, so this one we're going to feed it to the bracket. On the sides here, just kind of slide it in like that. There. Then we're just going to slide it in right here. Alright, just like that. And get them getting tight together. Okay. Take the brake caliper, we'll feed the wire through. And then slide it back on. Like that. Yeah. Bolt's back. So, I'm going to feed the bolt through. Line it up. There we go. And this one's going to need the number 7 hex socket. Let's see if we can just get the back a little bit. Just to hold it on there. Look, look. Okay, we got it bite a little bit, so okay, let's get this one lined up. It's too far. Yeah, okay, you can see the thread coming through. Alright, that one went on pretty smooth. Let's see if I can get this one to do the same. Okay, so I'm going to tighten this a little bit more. And then these down to 20 foot-pounds. Okay, so torque wrench to 20 foot-pounds. A little tight squeeze with this. There you go. It doesn't take much. Okay. So I'll set that there. And then the one down here. Okay. Here, this little bracket right here. Take the wire. And let's see how the clamp was face down. So we're going to slide that on there. Come up here. So it's got the little tab. I want that to face downward. And this thing stretches tight. And honestly, I think I want to flip it upward. Just so, I guess it doesn't really loosen it that much. Okay, push that in, here, click, and we snap that piece in. There we go. So, get that in there. Okay, and then just, this part gets hard. There you go. Make sure you got kind of pushed back in there. Okay, so now we got this. I just got to put the wheel back on. We're going to torque the wheel to 88 foot-pounds and then pump the brake. Well, sorry. Torque the wheel, get the car on the ground. Make sure you remember to close your brake fluid reservoir. Then pump the brakes till they feel firm, and that'll firm this back up. And then you can add power to the car and then take your car out of brake maintenance mode. Just took my car out for a test run. New brake pads. Not only do they feel good and are quiet, but they look good too. A nice aggressive touch. Good looking car. Okay, so that's how I changed the brake pads and rotors on my Alfa Romeo Giulia. I actually made this video a year ago, and I'm still using the brakes today, and they have held up very well and have been reliable. I do still get a little bit of a squeak at low speeds, but that's probably from not adding the grease to the edges of the brake pads. But I hope this information was helpful. Thank you, stay safe, and God bless.